out in this blustery weather?
Well, I decided to take advantage of this really warm day
It's kind of interesting.
visit my husband's grave.
Oh.
I haven't gotten a chance over the winter.
Oh.
Well, Miss Emma up the hill, we saw her a while ago, and she said if you need to get home with somebody, you can walk up the hill, and her friend Frank is coming to take her home. So maybe you could ride with them. Yeah, it's so windy. I'm afraid to wear my hat. It won't stay on my head, and I definitely don't need my shawl as warm as it is. Like I said, I have not gotten a chance to visit my husband's grave over the winter, so I decided to take this opportunity. My husband's been gone now about 3 years. We were married 30 and had one son. My life, since he has been gone, has been rather quiet. He was so involved in his business as a photographer and in politics and in the community. Our life was kind of busy when he was living. He got his work ethic and interest in the community and of course photography from his parents. His father and mother came to New Albany. They were German immigrants, and they came to this area in the 1850s. He opened a photography studio, his father did, Christopher, as well as imported German wines. And his mother even owned her own business. She owned a ice cream shop downtown. One of the first things that my husband became interested in from his father was astronomy. And in 1869, when my husband was only 9 years old, there was a total eclipse of the sun that year. And my father-in-law took some great photographs and was able to assist some scientists in analyzing the eclipse. But one of the stories my husband tells, it was printed in the paper, was how gentlemen could view the eclipse safely. They would go into a saloon and buy a stein of beer, and as they were drinking it, they would look through the beer and through the glass, and they could safely view the eclipse. Now, I don't know if that would be safe or not, but you know, my husband always thought it was a humorous story. When he was 20, he joined his father in the photography business. When his father first started the business, he opened it up on State Street between Main and Market. And then they moved it to the Hieb building because we're related to them by marriage. And then finally, the last location was on the corner of Spring and Bank. They moved there in 1884. That's the same year my husband and I got married. And in 1886, though, they were afraid they were going to lose the building and the business because a fire broke out in the livery stables up the street. And it severely damaged several businesses and residences. It even damaged our church, the German Evangelical Church. It damaged that, and the organ was burned. But our studio was spared. We only had $100 worth of damage, and we just lost a few negatives. So we were blessed. And in 1888, my husband and his father attended the National Photographers Association. That was something they were very involved in. They won first prize at the photography competition that year. They were competing against photographers from all the major cities in the United States, plus several European countries. They received a $100 gold coin as a prize and a lovely, what they called a diploma to commemorate the award. My husband was so excited about being involved in this association because at the time of his joining, he was the youngest member. The following year at the convention, he was elected secretary of the association. And 2 years following that, when they held the convention at the Chicago World's Fair, he was elected president of the association. Well, as well as his love of photography and involvement in the association, he was also very involved in local politics. He was a member of the Democratic Committee for Floyd County. He held a few positions, elected offices in county. But in 1988, he was considered for the nomination of treasurer for the state. He didn't get the nomination, but 2 years later in 1900, he was the Democratic nomination for Secretary of State for Indiana. He carried Floyd County, but unfortunately the rest of the state came in on McKinley's coattails, because as if you remember well, McKinley was elected president that year. So the Republicans took the election. And after his political career kind of tempered down, he became interested in very many organizations and clubs here in town. He was served on the committee for the the Jeffersonville, New Albany Chautauqua Association. He was on the Centennial Committee in 1913. And he was a president of the Commercial Club here in Floyd County. His last honor was being appointed to manage the Indiana Reformatory in Jeffersonville. But unfortunately, he was unable to fulfill that task. He was stricken with Bright's disease, which is a kidney disease. And a few months after his appointment, he passed away. And ironically, was also the disease that took his mother's life a few years before he passed away. Well, I want to thank you for stopping by and listening to a widow's memories. From the looks of the sky and the way the wind's picking up, we had best all head home.